You're sitting across from someone. They're smiling, nodding, agreeing with everything you say. But something feels wrong. Your gut is screaming at you, though you can't explain why. Here's what most people miss: the human brain leaks information constantly. Not through words. Through microsignals so subtle that you've been trained to ignore them your entire life. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to teach you how to read those signals like a detective solving a crime scene. But first, let me tell you something unsettling. Right now, as you're watching this, you're broadcasting information about yourself. Your posture reveals your confidence level. Your eye movements expose your comfort. Even the way you're holding your phone says something about your personality. The question isn't whether people can read you. The question is, can you read them back? Let's start with the most powerful tool in human observation, and it's not what you think. Hack number 1, establishing the baseline. Here's what separates amateurs from experts. Most people look for signs of lying. Big mistake. You can't spot deception until you know what truth looks like first. Think about it. If someone always fidgets, fidgeting means nothing. But if someone who's normally still suddenly can't keep their hands quiet, that's a signal. Investigators and behavioral analysts first establish what psychologists call a baseline by observing how someone acts under normal, non-threatening conditions. This isn't complicated. Watch how they respond to casual questions. Notice their default expression. Do they naturally gesture when they talk? Do they make eye contact or look away when thinking? Here's the practical approach: when you meet someone new, spend the first few minutes just observing. Ask simple questions. Where are they from? What do they do? How was their commute? You're not interrogating. You're calibrating. You're learning their normal. Once you have their baseline, any deviation becomes visible. Someone who normally speaks quickly suddenly slows down when discussing a specific topic. Interesting. Someone who makes steady eye contact suddenly finds the floor fascinating. Worth noting. Creating this mental baseline helps you spot inconsistencies between normal behavior and potentially deceptive or anxious responses. The key here is patience. Don't rush to conclusions. Collect data first. Hack number 2, the pupil paradox. Your eyes are supposed to be the windows to your soul. But they're more like surveillance cameras that you can't turn off. Research shows that pupil dilation increases during deceptive behavior, typically ranging between 4 to 8% of the original diameter. Why? Because lying demands more cognitive effort than telling the truth. Your brain is working overtime, and your pupils respond to that mental load. But here's where it gets interesting. Studies indicate that individuals show larger pupil sizes when lying compared to telling the truth, with dilation often occurring both before and after deception. It's like your body prepares for the lie, executes it, and then processes the aftermath. Now, before you start staring at people's pupils like a creep, understand this: pupil dilation isn't a lie detector. Pupil size changes due to various factors including emotional states, lighting changes, certain medications, and health conditions. Someone's pupils might dilate because they're attracted to you, not because they're lying. Or they're anxious. Or the room just got darker. This is why the baseline matters. If you've established how their pupils normally respond, you can spot the anomalies. But never rely on one signal alone. That's the rookie mistake. You're looking for patterns, not single clues. Speaking of patterns, let me show you something that might make you rethink every conversation you've ever had. And hey, if you're finding this valuable, hit that subscribe button. Most people scroll past information that could literally change how they see the world. Don't be most people. Hack number 3, the micro-expression window. Here's a disturbing fact: your face betrays you before your mouth does. Micro-expressions are brief, involuntary facial movements lasting from 1/25th to 1/5 of a second, revealing emotions that someone is trying to conceal. These aren't the expressions you see in normal conversation. These are the leaks. The cracks in the performance. Research on microexpressions shows they can serve as indicators in deception detection when combined with other behavioral cues. But here's the critical part that the TV shows get wrong: microexpressions alone aren't reliable evidence of deception. Studies show that both liars and truth-tellers display microexpressions, and there are no microexpressions that liars show which truth-tellers don't also exhibit. Someone might flash fear not because they're guilty, but because they're anxious about being accused. Context is everything. So what's the practical use? Microexpressions tell you what someone is feeling, not necessarily what they're hiding. If someone's words say, "I'm fine," but their face flashes disgust for a fraction of a second, you know the words aren't matching the emotion. That's your cue to dig deeper, ask follow-up questions, change the subject and return to it later. The real skill isn't just spotting these flashes. It's understanding what they mean in context. And that brings us to something most people never consider. Hack number 4, the cluster principle. Single behaviors mean nothing. Clusters tell stories. Behavioral experts emphasize that looking for one single tell is ineffective. Instead, it's the consistent grouping of actions together that provides meaningful information. Think about it. Someone touches their face. So what? Maybe their nose itched. But someone touches their face, avoids eye contact, and their voice pitch rises while discussing a specific topic. Now you have something. This is where observation becomes an art. You're not just watching. You're connecting dots across multiple channels simultaneously. Voice tone, body posture, facial expressions, hand movements, breathing patterns. When these signals align in a pattern, that pattern means something. Here's a real-world example. Imagine someone telling you about their weekend. They're relaxed, gesturing naturally, making eye contact, smiling genuinely. Then you ask about a specific event. Suddenly their shoulders tense, their gestures become more rigid, they touch their neck, and their smile doesn't reach their eyes anymore. One of those signals alone. Maybe nothing. All of them together. Something changed. Research suggests that looking for clusters involves asking yourself whether most of a person's behaviors are consistently associated with a particular emotional state. It's pattern recognition, not guesswork. But clusters only work if you're paying attention to the right things. And most people miss the most obvious signal of all. Hack number 5, the mirror test. Want to know if someone genuinely agrees with you or is just being polite? Watch for mirroring. When someone unconsciously mimics your speech patterns, tone, or sitting position, research suggests this indicates they feel emotionally in sync with you. This isn't about conscious copying. This is automatic. Our brains do this when we're in rapport with someone. Neuroscience research on mirror neurons shows these specialized brain cells fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing the same action, playing a crucial role in empathy and understanding others' intentions. When someone mirrors you, their brain is literally syncing with yours on a neurological level. But here's the sophisticated part: you can test this actively. Shift your posture. Cross your legs. Change your speaking pace. If they're truly engaged and agreeable, they'll adjust too, often without realizing it. If they don't, either they're not as interested as they seem, or they're consciously resisting rapport. Professional interrogators use this in reverse. They mirror suspects intentionally to build false rapport, then watch for when the suspect breaks the mirror. That break often happens right before or during deception. Now, can mirroring be faked? Absolutely. Sustained, consistent emotional expression and behavioral mimicry across an entire conversation is difficult to fake. Anyone can mirror you for a minute. Maintaining it naturally for 30 minutes while also managing conversation. That takes genuine connection. And this connects to the final, most powerful hack. The one that ties everything together. Hack number 6, the context web. Here's what separates true observation from paranoid overthinking: context. Every signal exists within an environment. Taking into consideration the context and environment where you observe behavior is vital. Someone sitting with arms crossed might be feeling defensive, or they might simply be cold. Without context, you're just making wild guesses. Research in cross-cultural communication shows that gestures can have vastly different meanings across cultures, and deceptive cues may vary significantly between societies. What signals deception in one culture might be normal politeness in another. Eye contact is a perfect example. In some cultures, direct eye contact shows honesty. In others, it's considered disrespectful. This is why the detective approach beats the manipulation approach. You're not trying to catch people. You're trying to understand them. You gather information, you consider context, you look for patterns, and only then do you draw conclusions. Think of it like this: you're building a web of understanding. Each data point is a strand. One strand tells you nothing. Multiple strands create a pattern. The pattern reveals the truth. But if you ignore where the web is built, the context, you'll misinterpret everything. The truly skilled observer asks questions: what's the setting? What are the stakes? What's this person's normal behavior? What's the cultural background? What just happened before this moment? Only after considering these factors does the behavior start to make sense. The real secret. Here's what I haven't told you yet. All these hacks, all these techniques, they have one common foundation. And it's something most people lack completely. Attention. Not the surface level, scrolling while someone talks kind of attention. Deep, focused, genuine attention. The kind where you actually care about understanding rather than judging. The kind where you're present enough to notice when someone's energy shifts mid-sentence. Studies suggest that nonverbal cues account for a significant portion of communication, with estimates ranging from 60 to 95%. That means most of what people tell you isn't in their words. It's everywhere else. But you'll only catch it if you're actually watching. The irony is that the best way to read people isn't to become more suspicious. It's to become more observant. More curious. More genuinely interested in understanding what makes someone tick. When you approach human behavior like Sherlock Holmes solving a puzzle rather than a manipulator looking for weaknesses, everything changes. You start noticing the tension in someone's voice when they discuss their job. The way their face lights up when they talk about their kids. The subtle shift in energy when certain topics arise. Not because you're trying to exploit these things, but because you're trying to understand them. And here's the twist: when you truly understand people, you don't need to manipulate them. You can communicate more effectively. You can spot genuine distress before someone asks for help. You can recognize when someone's "I'm fine" needs a follow-up. You can build better relationships because you're actually listening to what people are telling you, with their whole body, not just their words. The real power isn't in catching someone in a lie. It's in seeing the person behind the performance. It's in recognizing that everyone is constantly broadcasting who they are, what they feel, and what they need. Most people just aren't tuned into the right frequency. Now you are. Use these tools wisely. Use them to understand, not to manipulate. Use them to connect, not to control. Because the real dark psychology hack isn't learning to read people. It's learning that once you can read people, you realize how much they're already telling you if you just pay attention. And that changes everything.